What a crazy week, guys. Bitcoin dumped all the way to 49K, and now we're up to almost 60K, maybe slightly higher or lower, depending on the time that this video gets uploaded. And now people are wondering, is this a great time to buy some more Bitcoin or crypto if you've got some cash and you're waiting along the sidelines? Or if you're holding Bitcoin or crypto, is this perhaps a good moment to sell and take some profits to buy back into the market at a later point? That is what we're going to discuss in this video. And as usual, I'm going to show you a bunch of charts, tweets, and other articles that are going to give you some very useful insights. And before we get started, make sure to hit the like button and to subscribe to my channel, because throughout these turbulent times, I'm going to make sure to put out regular videos to make sure that you are well informed about everything that's going on in the market so that you can get an edge and make great decisions to build, hopefully, generational wealth. Because in the crypto space, there's lots of opportunities, but if you don't understand what is going on, you might be taking the wrong decision. So that's why we are in the trenches today, side by side, exploring what is going on and how we can take advantage of all that is going on. So I'm going to share my screen right now. Let's have a look at Bitcoin. So right now, Bitcoin is hovering around $60,000 per Bitcoin. If we look at it on a weekly time frame, we see that we're almost back to where we were 1 week ago at 61K. We're almost at 61K right now. So that could potentially mean that we just had a V-shaped recovery. Is it possible that we're still going to go down from here? Sure, it is still possible. But the fact that Bitcoin has gone up so quickly also shows how big the belief is in crypto and how many buyers are stepping in when the price of Bitcoin dumps. If we look at it on a monthly time frame, we see that we had a high of almost 70K not that long ago in this previous 30 days. And now we are just 10K below that high. Now, let's have a look at the following, the Fear and Greed Index. This is, of course, a measure of how fearful or greedy people are in the market. Yesterday, it was at 48, meaning that it was a little bit more neutral than it is today. Today is slightly more fearful. And why is that? Well, we just saw a big bounce off the 49K support. And Bitcoin has pumped, or Bitcoin has gone on quite a rally since then. And people are now believing that it could potentially drop again. However, there's also a likelihood that it's going to go up. So in this video, we're going to look at a few different perspectives to help you to form your own conclusion about what could potentially happen next and what are the best action steps for you to take. The S&P 500, we saw that we had a massive sell-off as well earlier in the week when the Japanese cash and carry trade started to unwind. But now the S&P 500 is also starting to rally again. Here we see that the S&P 500 just printed a crazy weekly candle after indeed a very wild week. So the stock market is slowly recovering. It seems like the Bitcoin and crypto market is slowly recovering. And on top of that, we are getting some crazy news because the CEO of Van Eck, one of the largest asset managers in the world, managing over $108 billion worth of assets, he is predicting that the price of Bitcoin could go all the way up to $2.9 million per Bitcoin. And what is the whole rationale behind this crazy price prediction? Some might call it crazy, but I've heard price predictions that are even higher than that. For example, Michael Saylor, the CEO of MicroStrategy, he expects that Bitcoin could go all the way up to $15 million per Bitcoin in the next 15 years. So what is the rationale of Van Eck's CEO to make this prediction? Well, he is saying that according to his pricing models, the price of Bitcoin or the market cap of Bitcoin could go to half the market cap of gold. So right now, gold is one of the most valuable assets, no, the most valuable asset in the world. It has a total market cap of $16.6 trillion. My bad, trillion. So that's 16 with 12 zeros behind it. 16.6 trillion. That's massive. So according to Van Eck CEO, he expects that roughly Bitcoin could achieve roughly half this market cap. And when it does, the price of a single Bitcoin could go all the way up to 2.9 million and maybe even higher. In the meantime, we also have another one of Bitcoin's spokesman, Michael Saylor, the infamous CEO of MicroStrategy. And Michael Saylor is going on a crazy media tour. This guy is visible everywhere. He's one of the biggest ambassadors of crypto, and he is one of the most intelligent people that I know and follow. He is educated on MIT. He has built a really successful publicly traded company. And now one of his next big moves is to get very heavily in Bitcoin and to develop this market and this space. He is saying go buy Bitcoin and wait, because hundreds of trillions of dollars of capital from all around the world are going to flow into cyberspace to the Bitcoin network. So basically what he's saying, there's so much wealth in this world. There's hundreds of trillions of dollars of wealth floating around all of the markets, searching for great assets to protect themselves against inflation and to give themselves nice returns. And Bitcoin is a very likely place that all of those people and institutions and companies will park their capital. So that's what we're seeing right now. Banks are buying into Bitcoin. Publicly traded companies are getting into Bitcoin. Countries are buying Bitcoin. There's so much buying power right now in the market. Here we're seeing that BlackRock just bought even more Bitcoin. So here on this chart, you see the IBIT, which is the BlackRock spot ETF. And here you see all of their inflows. Currently, they're holding more than almost 350,000 Bitcoin. That is insane in just a very short period. Here you see that they started buying from January of this year. So in almost 8 months, they purchased 350,000 Bitcoin. Imagine if this keeps going on for a few more months or a few more years, there's simply not enough Bitcoin for everyone to go around. So if you look at it from supply and demand economics, then you could argue there's a hard cap, 21 million Bitcoin, and the demand keeps on increasing. To me, if the supply is fixed, where the demand is increasing very rapidly, to me, that's a sign that the price of something might increase a lot over the long term. So this might also back up the justification of Van Eck CEO that Bitcoin could go all the way up to 2.9 million per Bitcoin. Here we see a total of Bitcoin ETFs inflows and outflows. We saw that ETFs are still buying more. So even though we saw a huge crash happening in the market, you'd expect that the ETFs would be selling their Bitcoin, but overall, we still see net inflow. So again, Bitcoin ETFs are stacking more Bitcoin than they're selling, and BlackRock is not selling at all. They had just one single day of outflows, and all of the other days they were only buying more. So the big guys, the big whales, they're only buying more. They're only accumulating more Bitcoin. And then we're seeing another very interesting development in the market. So not that long ago, in 2020, Russia's central bank proposed banning Bitcoin and crypto. Well, they're pivoting. And more recently, in the past week, Putin signed a law legalizing Bitcoin and crypto mining in Russia. And why is this so relevant? Because not that long ago, Trump posted on his Twitter or his X that he wanted the future of Bitcoin and crypto to be in the United States, and that he wanted to ease the laws and regulations to make it more crypto friendly. And now we're seeing that Putin also legalized Bitcoin mining and Bitcoin in Russia. And this almost seems like the Cold War arms race that is playing out in real life. Although this time we're not talking about arms, but now we're talking about the fight for the future of Bitcoin and crypto mining. So it's quite crazy to see how we went from retail FOMO in the market to institutional FOMO to corporate FOMO, and now even countries FOMOing into Bitcoin and crypto. And I believe that's a big sign that mass adoption, again, is around the corner. So when all of these things are happening in the market, when fear, uncertainty, and doubt starts to dominate the market sentiment, like we're seeing right now, like still the market is very fearful. But if you're zooming out, then you realize that this is just a small blip in history. Okay, in a few months from now, we're probably looking back at this time and we're laughing. So what else are we seeing? We're seeing that Bitcoin long-term holders are accumulating even more. So we saw that for a very short period of time in July, you saw that they were selling, but now you see that they're accumulating a lot more Bitcoin behind the scenes. So long-term holders are stacking. And this is the final thing that I want to leave you with today. So I was scrolling on X and I saw this post and it said, every cycle, Bitcoin gives you one last chance to load up. So here we are. In the previous cycle, we had the COVID crash in March 2020, where the price of Bitcoin went from 9K all the way to 5K. Everyone said it was going to go to zero. People were fearful. And not much later, the next phase of the bull market started and we saw a face melting market rally. Now we could be at a very similar position where this could be the final chance to load up. So if you're sitting along the sidelines, or if you've partly allocated your funds and you still have some dry powder, then this might be the final opportunity to buy more. Is it possible that the market could go lower? It is possible, but it's not a guarantee. On the other hand, is it likely that the market is going to go up from here over the long term? Yes. So is there a big difference if you're buying a few thousand lower or higher from here, risking that if you're going to wait and the market doesn't dip, then you might risk not getting into the market at all and losing out on this buying opportunity. So my philosophy is, if you have a long-term perspective, then it makes sense to just keep on buying. And I have been mining and accumulating Bitcoin throughout the whole year. I am DCAing into Bitcoin and Bitcoin mining consistently, because even at the all-time high of, 73,000, I still believe that Bitcoin was extremely cheap compared to where we can go in the next few years. If you have big players like the CEO of Van Eck saying that Bitcoin could go to 2.9 million per Bitcoin, and the CEO of MicroStrategy, Michael Saylor, saying that hundreds of trillions are going to flow into Bitcoin, then do you believe that Bitcoin is cheap right now? Because if you believe it's cheap, then now might be a really great time to load up. But of course, that's my perspective. It doesn't have to be your perspective. I just have a really strong long-term perspective. And that also, I also want to discuss something really important about my personal investing philosophy. I am not a day trader. I am a long-term investor. And that's very important to understand, because whenever you're day trading, statistically, 90 to 95% of the people lose money. Why is that? Well, I compare it to the weather forecaster on TV. It is possible that the weather forecaster on TV predicts the weather correctly for a single day. Maybe it's even possible that he will predict the weather correctly for 3 or 4 or 5 days consecutively. However, a weather forecaster will never correctly predict the weather 365 days in a row. How often have you read the weather forecast or listened to the weather forecast and the weather was completely different that day or the next day? The same holds true with trading. Whenever you are trying to predict short-term market movements, you might be able to predict it correctly for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 consecutive days. But if you lose everything on the 6th, 7th, 8th day, then you're still negative. And that's why if you are a long-term investor, I believe you can get a lot greater returns with a lot lower risk. But it requires you to zoom out and to understand the longer-term trajectory that the market is on. Now, finally, I want to show you this final image. Let me share my screen. So this is a cartoon. And in this cartoon, you see a turtle or a whatever, Pepe cartoon, which is basically holding a ball, and that ball represents Bitcoin. And it's pushing this ball underneath the water for a prolonged period of time. And what happens when you do that? Well, in reality, pressure starts to build up. And when you release the ball, it starts to shoot up. And I believe that this is currently what is happening with Bitcoin. Bitcoin is so undervalued right now compared to where it can go in the next few months and years. And now it has been trading at a very low price. It has been going sideways for a very long time. The market has experienced quite some pain, but when the market starts to pump, it is going to pump hard. And if you did not take advantage of all of these entry points and buying really great buying moments in the market, then you lose out on really great opportunities to build your wealth. Okay, so I hope that you enjoyed watching this market update. And make sure to hit the like button and to subscribe to my channel if you want to see more of these weekly updates. I'm planning to upload around 2-3 videos during these very important times. All right, I'm here with you guys in the trenches because we're gonna get through it together. All right, hope you have a nice day. Peace out. See you in the next one.